My name is Ting Ting. I was born and raised in an Asian city called Hong Kong. I'm now a journalism student at the University of Washington. As a girl who's in love with another girl, I've never actually come out. My parents found that out by looking at text message on my phone when I was younger. My mom says she's never going to accept it, and I should do what a girl's supposed to do. So, I wonder how is it like for other non-heterosexual Asians to come out. I wonder how is it like for their parents to get over it and accept it. I wonder if it's going to be easier for those who have been living in the United States to talk about it. So I decided to ask them.
I think I was probably in elementary school when I realized I like girls. I had crush on my classmates and female teachers, you know. I went to all-girls school when I was growing up in Hong Kong, you know, it's very common. So I wasn't really surrounded by a lot of guys, but I was never really all that. I moved over here in Seattle, I was 14, and it was, you know, a co-ed, so there's boys and girls, and I never felt anything really for guys. So just this March, I didn't tell my dad, I only told my mom. You know, she was very shocked and sad. She cried. She blamed herself. She was very worried. That night, I've never seen her like that. I left the house because she told me that she's okay, so I left the house. And then I went over to my cousin's and I told her what happened. I also called my uncle, one of my closer uncles, but he's in Arizona. I told him, and he said that he would call her and check up on her, but she was home alone that night, and then he called me back and he said that he couldn't reach her. It's not usual, and he got worried, so that got me very worried, and I had to. I expected the worst. I thought she has done something to hurt herself. I immediately got back in the car and I took my cousin with me, and I was like, we're going back, I need to check on mom. I was so nervous. I remember the drive wasn't that long. The drive was like 15 minutes. But I have all these thoughts in my mind, you know. I was like, oh my God, what have I done? You know, I mean, what if she hurt herself? You know, because she was so sad. I walk in and I call her. She didn't answer. I was scared. Went upstairs. I kept calling her, you know, mom, you know, and went upstairs, and there she was in my old bedroom that she turned into a sewing room, you know, and she just looked kind of dazed, you know, and I think eventually she came around. I mean, you know, the next time I saw her, it was as if everything was okay. I think she just really worried about me, about my future, you know.
I think I had my first inkling of being not heterosexual when I was in 3rd grade, when I was having a conversation with my best friend at the time. And I kind of shoved it away in my head, and I didn't think about it until 6th or 7th grade. And I came to terms with it, I guess, or I just had another conversation with a close friend, and I realized I was bisexual and I had feelings for her. I didn't really tell my parents until a lot later on. It was kind of just a secret that I dated girls and that I liked girls. But it was always kind of known, and it was always really uncomfortable because even though they had a feeling, they knew, they never tried to make me feel comfortable to talk to them about it. It was kind of, I felt a lot of resentment, and it's kind of confusing whether if it was because I was gay or because we just weren't talking about it. And it first came out in Europe because I actually have 2 lesbians in my family, who are together, but it's very hushed in the family and no one really talks about it and no one asks and no one said anything. So it really didn't give me much safe, like I didn't feel very comforted about it. I can't just have my parents ignore the fact that I like girls. At first, I think the first year was really hard. It was something we really didn't talk about much, and the topic every time it was brought up was it made the waters very rough. I think what made my parents finally start realizing that it was okay was when I started bringing girlfriends in front of them and showing them how happy it made me, or like when I broke up with girlfriends, I took a chance and called my mom and told her how sad I was, and I tried really hard to show them how real it made me feel. I think that I've always been kind of gay. I think. I just remember being in elementary school and just having crushes on boys and girls and just anyone because, you know, I was just a kid. But I knew that the people around me wanted me to like boys, so I never really told people about my crushes on girls. But it wasn't until I was in middle school when I started having a crush on one of my friends, and that really scared me because it was like my first time ever feeling like I really wanted to date this person, or, you know. I started off as being bisexual, and I talked to my friends about it, and they were all really supportive. For a while I was unsure of my sexuality, then I was lesbian, and then I was not, and then I was, you know, back to bisexual, but sexuality for me has just been such a spectrum. But when I was in high school, I dated a girl, and my parents knew that I was dating her, even though I never told them. And one day she was over at my house, and they barged into my room, and at that point I was giving my girlfriend a kiss, and they barged right in, and I'm like, oh shit! And then everyone was just freaking out. But I'm laughing now, but it wasn't very funny. And they would tell me, you know, you're gay, just tell me you're gay, admit it. So if you're not gay, then tell me you're not, you know. So they pretty much forced me to come out because I didn't want to lie to myself. So that was when I was 16, but now I'm 23, and it's been a really long road, and my parents and I have gone through just so much together. But we've both come out stronger and closer than ever. And what really helped was me really sitting down and talking to them and opening myself up and telling them, you know, what my true feelings were. Well, one day my mom and I had a really deep conversation on the phone, and it was right after, you know, they really saw how depressed I was and saw what kind of emergency this was. And my mom called me, and we had a really long talk, and then she told me, 女，如果你俾媽咪多啲時間，我就會開始接受你。我就會慢慢開始接受你。And it was really nice. It was really awesome.
Before high school, definitely. It's not very strong yet when I was that age. I think I just like to play more toward, like to hang out with boys most of the time, and it's still awkward hanging out with girls. Yeah, I think that's when I realized, but I didn't really know about that feeling until later. I just keep it to myself, and it's not very common in Hong Kong at that time, and I did not know about the whole world, about the gay scene or anything. Probably when I start when I'm old enough to have the desire, the sexual desire, then I realized that yes. I always thought that I should come up to them after I have a stable relationship, because they would definitely freak out if I tell them, and especially if they're not here. If I tell them, they might just fly over right away and like try to convert me back. especially they are very religious. They're Christians and they work in church, so it's more of a pride thing to them too. That's the big reason why I'm not coming out to them. I have a feeling though that they sort of know. They have this don't ask, don't tell sort of policies right now. I do think my mom sort of knows, and because right now I'm 30, and she asks all the time, like, when I'm gonna get married. Oh God, when I go back to Hong Kong, even 2 years ago when I went back, she tried to, introduce some of the girls. I don't know why she would do that, because I don't know. I think it's more for her comfort or just a glimpse of hope that I might be not be gay in a way. So.
From my experience in some email interviews I have done, I realized that media plays an important role of either helping or pushing away people that are non-heterosexual and their parents. So what about the Asian American ones? How have they been portraying non-heterosexual community?
There was almost no, I wouldn't even say almost no, I don't remember any portrayals of people who are not heterosexual. And a lot of the very early dramas particularly were about family dramas and about sort of struggles over marriage, and the assumption was that everybody was straight and everyone was going to get married, and that was the happy ending. And so I think a lot of the early work is really just pretends that heterosexuality doesn't exist. So I work with the Asian American Film Festival, and we had a lot of entries this year that were about queer culture and about non-heteronormative Asian Americans. And I think I think there's a greater acceptance now for different kinds of ways of being for Asian Americans.